Welcome to the Let's Fix Construction podcast. Let's Fix Construction is an avenue to offer creative solutions, separate myths from facts, and erase misconceptions about the architecture, engineering, and construction industry.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's fix you and me. Every broken thing that we can see, all the pain and all the misery. Let's start tomorrow.
Let's join your Let's Fix Construction co-hosts, Eric Lussier and Cherise Lakeside.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Let's Fix Construction podcast. This one is episode number 8, and despite my previous words that we would be doing a better job of getting behind the microphones more often, failed once again. Unbelievably, it's been 2 months since we've posted a Let's Fix Construction podcast episode, and it's the busy time of year if you're in construction because you're typically out in the field, well, constructing. And before we get too far into it, my name is Eric Lussier, and I'm joined 3,000 miles away virtually by my good friend Cherise Lakeside. Say hello, Cherise.
Hello, everybody.
And can you believe another summer is behind us once again?
I can't. It's just flown by this year. I don't know about you, but I have been buried. It's been just crazy busy.
I can relate, and being in flooring and a finish, I always equate my summers to basically hell time. It's basically every deadline in the world for us. This is my 13th summer doing indoor sports flooring, and I always say whether it's new construction or renovation, the finish goes in, of course, at the end, and it always happens to be August. And it's kind of ironic because we just wrapped up actually watching some football, but I always equate it to being like the fourth quarter and the overtime of the Super Bowl all tied up into one. And ironically, our last Super Bowl had an overtime. And that's really what my Augusts are like. And it's usually filled with, well, for me, it's project management. Usually the rest of the year, it's your doing design consulting and specification work and what have you to help, put out bid projects basically. But this year I found it to be tremendously different. Yes, there was plenty of project management to be done in July and August, but I found, at least for the summer of 2018, the bidding climate was so much more different than I recall ever in my previous 12 Augusts of doing flooring work. And from conversations with many other suppliers, many other contractors, I was not the only one seeing this, thankfully, I should say. So did you sense anything different from your side of the world in regards to what a typical summer would be in a design studio?
That's kind of funny that you say that, because as you were saying just now, as you were saying how you typically are really crazy busy in July and August because finishes come in late and at the end, and I know that you do a lot of public work or school work, athletic facilities, those kinds of things, and so do I. And that's historically what I've seen as well. And the thing that I've found pretty interesting, it's been building up for the last couple of years, but really this year I've really seen it all over the industries, all over the industry and different types of projects, are that projects are not bidding at the time we would historically see them bid. With our current bidding environment, the lack of skilled labor, with the things going on politically and the tariffs and the price of materials being sky high right now in a lot of areas, I've noticed that a lot of people are looking for alternative methods. They're looking for alternative timelines, maybe bidding a project in phases or bidding at a time of year you might not typically see that type of client bid. in all the years that I've done public work, we would be really heavy in design in the winter months and early spring, with the goal being to get those documents bid and out the door and have a contractor on board in late spring to really hit the best of all the good weather through late spring, summer, and fall. And I'm seeing things bidding in July and August and September that normally would have always been bid in the spring in past years, because owners are having to get creative. Everybody can't bid and build their projects in the great months of summer right now because there's not enough labor to go around to do the work.
Yeah, it's very frustrating in working in a small business such as myself, where there's really only a handful of us to do everything from installations to project management to on-site consultations to what have you. It's really difficult to man everything properly. And this year, what I found was a little bit different, was so much more projects were being bid that project management was actually taking a back seat to bid not just a typical project. I was bidding a 30,000 square foot athletic facility for next summer, and projects like that size, a lot of design build, which is great because we have a little bit better of a chance to help perhaps finagle some maybe some VE work or whatever out of it. But I am for once feeling very, very good about the summer of 2019, which is great. But now what I'm worried about is in our typical cycle of design and bidding in the winter months and the spring months, and usually I'd be bidding jobs in the spring of 2019 for summer 2019 work, the smaller projects. I don't know if we're going to have the capability to actually bid on those jobs, because if all goes to plan, I'm going to have some of these large 2019 summer projects in hand by the end of 2018, and these are projects that, rather than being on the job for 5 days or 8 days, we're probably talking about being on a job for 15 days or 25 days. And it's going to eat up such a large portion of the summer. And I can already tell you now, whether they are planning on being open for July 1st or not, there's a very, very good chance that I'm going to be installing next year in August, because all of the jobs fall towards the end of the cycle, no matter how hard they try. And it's very, very frustrating being a floor finish on a project that is so fast paced, with a 365-day shovel to certificate of occupancy schedule. Us finish guys are the ones that get hosed every single time, and we're the ones that, instead of having our proper 25 days of installation schedule, they'll basically squeeze us down to 12 days and say, can't you get it done in that amount of time? And not only that, but the project still won't be ready when they're time to turn it over. So we're being forced to work with basically either other trades in the room, or unfortunately in let's say subpar conditions, perhaps. It's amazing to go do a site inspection and the facility's not even weather tight and the HVAC isn't even on yet, and yet it's required to run moisture testing in your concrete slab, and everyone's just so up against the wall that I'm really worried for how basically next summer is going to play out. We may have some contracts in hand, but I really think we're going to be passing on a lot of the smaller jobs next year because, as you mentioned earlier, with a lack of skilled labor, we've been looking for installers to join us for months now, and if not years really, and are having that continued hard time of having anyone literally answer the call. And there's many subcontractors that are going to be facing the same crunch next year. And what it's going to do is allow smaller subcontractors in very high-level skilled trades to really pick and choose the projects that we want to bid on. So that's good for us because we're going to be commanding a higher dollar, but it's going to hurt the owners because they're either going to be getting higher costs, or conversely, they're going to be getting people that are more than willing to jump on a job, and perhaps they're not as qualified to do the work. And so perhaps there's going to be some subpar work being turned around, and that's not good for anybody. That's the last thing we want to do, is see, say, resilient flooring like ourselves have their reputation hit in the industry because someone's willing to accept a subpar site conditions for concrete tolerances or higher moisture thresholds than they're allowed to, and it's going to be putting in a floor that's going to be rejected by somebody, and that does nothing but tarnish the industry, in my opinion. So it was a very interesting summer of 2018. And if anything, it flew by even faster than normal. And now here we are. It's the middle of September already. Summer's wrapped up, I would say that, although it was 86 degrees in Burlington, Vermont today. We've had 81 days of over 80 degrees here in the summer in Burlington, and it doesn't seem like summer is actually slowing. But I think fall's right around the corner. We've actually seen some signs of some foliage changing in some different parts of Vermont. So it appears that it's finally behind us. And it's funny because now, just like that, the bidding climate's actually closed a little bit as far as I've seen. And it appears that we're going back perhaps now to the normal cycle of design and, bidding over the, typical fall, winter, spring months. So we'll see if that is the case. But with as far as construction has really been the last couple of years, anything goes. And it's been changing mighty fast nowadays, the cycles, and we just kind of roll with it. I know that you guys have seen, certainly an untypical design summer in your office. And it seems like from conversations that we've had with some of our acquaintances in the industry, you're not the only one out there. And, as a design studio goes, you take the work when it comes and you just roll with it, and you don't turn anything away. And, when the owner is paying the bill, you do what the owner asks. And if that's, turning around perhaps some documents in a faster period of time, then so be it. We all take that instance and go.
Well, I think that's the environment for everybody right now. Because the prices have been driven so high in our current environment, I think everybody I know in the industry has been talking about how much shorter their schedules are to get a job out on the street. I think one of the things that you're going to find on those smaller jobs is that the owners that are trying to bid those smaller jobs in the summer are already not getting any bids. They're not getting it because all the big, good, juicy work is in the summertime. And it is a contractor's environment. They can cherry pick the projects they want, especially if they have the labor to work for them. And so owners are already thinking alternatively and thinking about doing some of those smaller jobs in time periods you would not expect to typically see them, which for the kind of work that you do, that might be a really good thing. Because the months that are typically a lot slower for you, where you don't have as many installs of a flooring system, I think you're going to start seeing a very big change in that, to where an owner will be willing to shut down a room for a couple weeks as opposed to waiting for the summertime, because the prices are so high in the summertime because the labor's even harder to get because everybody's busy. So I think you're going to find that a very much changed environment, and owners are looking at alternative times to build that they wouldn't have before because the prices are so high. They have to look at ways to bring them down, and building during a time where contractors are a little bit slower means that when they're doing their bids, their pencils are a little sharper. So mark my words, that's my prediction. You're going to see some building going on during times you wouldn't normally.
Well, we'll accept that. We are typically a little slower in the fall and winter months, but I can say right now that we're busy over the next couple. We have a large job in hand for November, which is fantastic. We're traditionally slower then. And we bid it, I remember it seemed ridiculous at the time, but I want to say we bid it in April. But there were some long lead time items on it, so the owner took it into consideration. We put it out to bid early. And so now we know that November will be busy, and we've got a job that we're still negotiating. It's just amazing sometimes the way the cycle works. A lot of hurry up and wait, but we've got a job we're negotiating right now that I remember we were on the job a month ago doing a pre-install, actually a pre-contract award site visit even, and they were talking about having us start the job the following Monday. And now here we are giving them yet another proposal today, telling them that a product could be 8 to 10 weeks lead time. And they're like, oh, that's fine because some of the HVAC work that's going to be done is 6 to 8 weeks out. So a month ago, they were a day away from starting, and now they're realizing that they're legitimately not into November, but we'll take it. So we'll take some of this winter work. certainly. And what's tough about doing a lot of the school work, especially the way our Christmas and New Year's have fallen the last couple of years, they've been on a very interesting, cycle with the day of the week that they fall on. The elementary schools are closed for a very small period of time nowadays, at least up here in the Northeast, where the kids are only getting basically about 6 or 7 days off, it seems like. So we've got a very small window to do some of that work, but we already have some college, basically some collegiate work lined up for the winter time for them, where their winter breaks are typically 3 to 4 weeks out. But we're scheduling into December right now, which is pretty good for us. And it's going to be interesting going forward. Like I said, we're actively looking for flooring installers, as so many people are in the skilled trades. And I had a conversation recently with a general contractor up here in Burlington that's building not one but two of the largest projects that Chittenden County here in Vermont has perhaps ever seen. And I asked them straight up if they were concerned about their labor force, and they said that personally they're not worried about their own labor, skilled labor, but they're worried about their subcontractors' skilled labor. So it's a good position, I guess, for them to be in for their own employees, but they know darn well that as they sub out a lot of the real specialty work, like a lot of the work that we do with resilient athletic flooring, that they know that their small subs have a tremendous issue right now with trying to find help in any way, shape, or form. And it's not only finding help, it's finding qualified help that wants to show up, that wants to work hard, that wants to earn that, earn the dollar. And we're always amazed because we travel a lot here in the Northeast, and we've got prevailing wage jobs that, can pay $50 an hour, and they'll jump and be more than happy to arrive for those jobs. But the second you move to another state and prevailing wage happens to be a lot lower, or you're on a private job and it slips back into common entry level wages, they don't want to show up for that work. So they're not afraid to put a good foot forward when that money is there. But the second that it's more in line with perhaps a traditional $20 an hour, they're not as anxious to show up. So when we talk about costs being all over the place, we always say that the prevailing wages are unfortunate circumstance that we have to bid in. But when they're saying that the costs are coming in a lot higher than they anticipated, we say, well, did you take into consideration that with benefits in, say, Westchester County, New York, we are at $97 an hour for our work. And that's without overtime and without weekend work and what have you. And of course, we're not going to be taking that on unless it's absolutely necessary. And as we talk about finished trades being up against the wall, we actually ended up eating a lot of overtime on a job this past August because it was a matter of squeezing a job in between two other projects, and we had to basically work a Saturday. And it adds up mighty quick when time and a half, for a 3-4 man crew at essentially $135 an hour eats into our bottom line very, very fast. So fortunately, that was just one circumstance, but it's one that's behind us now. So, end of the summer, usually the end of the summer, as we kind of turn the page here, this is the typical time of year where the summer is wrapped up and you and I find ourselves usually out of town and actually at CSI's annual convention, Construct, and its affiliated trade show. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at my Facebook this day of memories over the last couple of weeks, and over the years, I found myself, looks like in Philadelphia and in Chicago and in Phoenix, which is where you and I met 6 years ago. And then where did we go to from there? We were off to Nashville, and that was an awful lot of fun. And we went out to Baltimore, and then St. Louis, and then Austin, and then Providence. And instead of being there right now, in a couple of weeks' time, we actually find ourselves in Long Beach, California this year. And it's in 2 weeks. It moved for us, but it's a perfect time of year to get out of town and attend this conference that you and I have been, actually pretty active and really making happen over the last couple of years. But it's a place where you and I met 6 years ago, and I'm looking forward to it. How about you?
It's kind of funny because my Facebook has been doing the same thing the last couple of weeks, just one memory after another about Construct. And obviously, since we've met and then we started Let's Fix Construction, and we're far more involved in Construct than at the time we met at the closing reception at a bar in Phoenix. But I have to say that, so this will be my sixth construct, but I only joined CSI less than a year before my first construct. So Halloween will be my 7th year in CSI. So construct was one of the very early things that I did in CSI outside of my chapter. And to be perfectly honest, it was really, truly instrumental in how involved I ended up getting in this organization and how involved I ended up getting involved with the people in this organization. I just said involved 1 or 2 or 10 too many times. But for me, it was a game changer. And it's progressed from walking into that first conference in Phoenix, really not knowing a soul besides a few people from my own chapter that were also at that conference, to having friends all over the country, outside of the country. I actually belong to Construction Specifications Canada. Is that what they officially call it? I'm going to get myself in trouble here. It's become a big part of my life in a lot of ways, and so of course it's something I look forward to. This year is kind of even more unique because we have a whole lot going on there besides just attending the conference. And so it's been a journey going from going to this conference I knew nothing about to being on a stage more than a few times. 5, I think, this year, and hosting a party, and yeah, we got a lot going on, but I'm looking forward to it.
There is a lot going on. Yeah, I am too. It did move from traditional September timeframe to October. October 3rd to the 5th in Long Beach, California, and it's hard to believe. It's like, I remember in the constructs past, it's kind of, you leave and you get very rejuvenated about the state of the CSI and the Construction Specifications Institute and your job and construction, and you basically look forward to going back again. And it's the times in between constructs have gotten seemingly smaller and smaller. Even though this year was an extra month, it flew by even more. But I think that has to do with the number of presentations that you and I have had the chance to do since Providence last year when we presented a few times over. So it has kind of crept up on us now, but you know that construct, and we've talked about this in the past and we've written about it in the past, it's very near and dear to your heart because it's actually really the home of your first ever public speaking session was at Construct in Nashville, correct?
Yep, in Nashville.
And that led us, ironically enough, to into actually pitching a presentation for this year that actually has to do with our public speaking backgrounds. And it's a session that we're calling Facing Danger, Public Speaking for Non-Public Speakers. And I really called it the non-public speakers because it kind of aimed at you. You always said that besides standing up and asking for trophy money, it was never really in your background to speak. So it's kind of taken a whirlwind turn for you because you've gone from that one presentation in Nashville to about 150 under your belt over the last 5 years. And I myself actually went to school to be a radio DJ about 25 years ago now, and took a public speaking class and really enjoy, actually, I think a lot more sometimes getting behind the microphone. But standing up in front of people is still something where I get very nervous, and I can relate to people that are nervous themselves, whether they're talking to 1 or 10 or 100 people. So we threw together a presentation topic for Construct that we pitched, and it was accepted. I'm pretty excited about this one. We've had a chance to really write, well, any presentation that we've kind of had a mind for with Let's Fix Construction over the last year. But this is one that I wrote, kind of conceived, I should say, for you, Cherise. And I'm looking forward to see what you bring to the table for this presentation on Thursday morning. And you know that I'm not much of a planner, and I like to keep you on your toes. So I'm hoping that even with all of the rehearsing that we have going on for this, that I'm still able to perhaps throw a curveball or two at you and perhaps make you think on your toes a little bit and try to come up with really your, nuggets of information that you can use to help the audience to, see what they can do to, perhaps shed some fears that they have. Because I'm sure that you still get nervous as well, but I know that you are much, much more comfortable nowadays in tackling a topic on the spot like you're doing right now, correct?
Correct. It's as he throws another curveball at me, it's almost amusing sometimes that we've paired up for this effort. And we're very like-minded in a lot of ways, but we're very different in approach often, which you would think I would have killed him by now, but actually it works pretty well together because I can be a little bit too methodical, I think is a word I heard recently. And I think Eric can be just a little bit squirrely, but I think that we kind of bring a little balance between the two of us when we approach some of these topics. And I find that some of the best events that I have spoken at since that event in Nashville have been ones where things kind of went off the rails and were a little bit more unplanned and a little bit more organic, and the conversations were better. So believe it or not, I'm actually looking forward to that presentation as well, because you never could have told me 5 years ago that I would have over 150 speaking engagements under my belt. Sure as hell could have never told me that most of them would have went pretty well. I can probably only think of one or two that make me cringe a little bit, and I'm probably overcritical. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with people, because I meet a lot of people along the way that have a lot to offer. Just in having a conversation with them when it's one-on-one and they're comfortable and they're authentic, just some amazing ideas and comments and thoughts can come out of people. And the minute I say, oh gosh, you should do a presentation about that, it's like instant fear. And I think it really resonates with people when you can stand up and say, yeah, I've never done this before either. And just kind of talk about kind of how you got past that fear. And so I think that one's going to be kind of fun. And I'm a little less afraid of your curveballs these days than I was at the beginning.
Well, last year in Providence, we did 2 presentations together. And before that, I flew out to Portland to actually practice a couple of presentations, but really we were just on our essentially 4th and 5th presentation together. But now flashing back over the last year, we've had the chance to do, what is it? I think we're up to a couple of dozen together now. And one of them, and you just brought up interesting topics and had to do with something else, but this is one that we keep doing over and over again, is our Let's Fix Construction workshop, which we did last year in Providence. And it's one where you never know what's going to come out of it. And it's a fantastic time. I always get many things out of it. And you and I both enjoyed doing this one a great deal. And this is on Wednesday this year. Going to be a little bit different than last year if you attended, because we did basically the luncheon session and had to squeeze 150 people into about 45 minutes of talking. And it's traditionally an hour and a half session, but we've got quite a few people signed up this year, and it's back to its 90-minute time slot. And it's our true Let's Fix Construction workshop, where I think one of the best things is we don't do much of the talking, and people don't understand that at first. The idea is to get other people talking, and it's to get people talking to other members of the building industry that perhaps they've never talked to before. It's of course filled with a lot of strangers. We encourage people to not sit next to someone they know. It's about having conversations with a different party in the industry, a new face, a name, and what people get out of it, I hope, is what we get out of it. And that's a lot of fresh ideas, a lot of I never thought of that, a lot of what about this angle. And we've had the chance to do this one now over a dozen times, and it's always fantastic. And I know that you get a great joy out of doing it as well. And is there anything in particular you're looking forward to in this year? I know we want to try to bring something a little bit different to the table, but I'm looking forward to this one. Just perhaps for having the true 90 minutes time and perhaps get a lot more people talking than we did last year.
One of the things that I really like about Construct as a conference, and I've been to a number of different conferences, and something that actually I was hoping to have an opportunity to bring up, so I'm just going to bring it up, is, and we've mentioned this before, there's a misconception out in the industry, it has been forever, and continues to be a misconception about what CSI really is. It's the Construction Specifications Institute. So the immediate reaction I get from a lot of people is, I don't write specs, I don't need to go to that, it doesn't even apply to me. Or I don't need to get involved with the local chapter because that's not what I do in my job. And it's such a disservice to the industry, because that's not what CSI is about. That's one small portion of what CSI is about. It's about project delivery for everybody at the table. Every discipline is an equal member in CSI. And so I love it when people come to Construct, because number one, you have, for our workshop, you might have a contractor and an engineer and a product rep and an architect and a specifier and a young professional and who knows, all at one table. And you throw down this problem, and you already know what really gets me geeking out during our workshop is when we get all of the teams going with whatever, they don't know what the problem is going to be. They don't have a lot of time to solve it. They don't have to solve it, but they don't have a lot of time to come up with some solutions or forward-thinking ideas. And they're not working together under a contract environment. They're not working together under a project. They're just a table of 6, 8, or 10 industry professionals looking at the same problem with different viewpoints. Well, you get all of those people at one table and they start talking. And I mean, my favorite part of the workshop is when we're not talking at all and I just get to go eavesdrop on everybody's table and watch everybody get all excited about what they're learning from somebody else at that table as they're approaching this problem they're trying to solve, because they've never seen it from that perspective before. I think that excites me so much because I've worked in multiple disciplines, which is why this whole workshop idea was so appealing to me in the first place. Because it wasn't until I went from one discipline to another that I realized how the other work every day. So that's, I think, it's always the part that I look forward to the most is for me, not even the solutions that are shared with the room, but watching the people get there, watching the lights come on, watching them get excited and, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I can't wait to take that back to my boss, or I can't wait to go back to my firm and change this. Or I'm going to deal with the contractor differently next time because I didn't understand that piece. For me, that's the beautiful thing that happens during the workshop. And everybody comes away excited.
I agree. I'm really looking forward to it this year, and we definitely were a little constrained last year in Providence, having it over the luncheon where we perhaps had about 45 minutes to squeeze through everything, and it was really our first real time, well, certainly doing a presentation to that size, but I remember that was the first day of Young Professionals Day last year, and I quite literally wrote out the introduction to the presentation about 20 minutes before it happened, and we literally read script, but it worked. It was quite a little introduction, and it set the table for where it went. And we've had the chance to do it, well over a dozen times over the last year, over to CSI regions and to different chapters, and it's been fantastic. So, kind of stepping in the slot of where we were last year, and speaking of challenges and what have you, you are once again keeping busy because you seemingly have nothing to do when you go to Long Beach, I guess. The guys from the Archespeak podcast are going to be really in that slot that we were in, and you were kind of moderating, so to speak, an interactive luncheon. It's called Real Talk about challenges, opportunities, and innovations surrounding AEC teams, and it's on day 1 of Construct, October 3rd, from noon to 1, where you're basically trying to, I should say, moderate and nail down Evan Troxel, Neil Pan, and Cormac Phelan, and try to talk our way through probably a few of the issues that we've come across once or twice during our Let's Fix Construction workshops. So you want to talk a little bit about those guys and what exactly you plan on doing with those cronies?
Yeah, well, very early on in my CSI career, former CSI, she convinced me I should, and so I did. And one of the reasons that she told me is because she told me I expand my reach. I could expand my circle. The first thing she advised me to do was go follow all the CSI people that she followed. And then I got this harebrained idea to go follow every architect I could find, every engineer I could, the information they have to share. Well, that's kind of how I found these three. And, it started out just, must have composted, and I'd listened to some of their podcasts. And over the years, we'll put it that way. I'm trying to make them wear Dallas Cowboys shirts for the presentation. They're not going for it. In actuality, although we have become friends, they are three really awesome architects. Two are from California and one is from Baltimore. And they have a lot of really great insight and kind of work in different ways. And they have a lot to share, and they're interesting and they're funny. They're kind of smart Alex, but I think that's why I like them so much. I had, being on the advisory council for Construct, one of the things they ask the council to do is, if you know people you think may be good speakers or might bring something new to the table, let us know and we'll look in. Maybe we'll ask them to submit a proposal. And so I had recommended that I thought the ArchiSpeak guys would be a great addition to a lunch panel or a power panel. And it ended up working out. And so they're joining us, and I'm really interested to have them come talk about not only their podcast, but their views of the industry and how they see things changing and what they see for our future. And I'm glad they're in the 1 hour lunchtime slot this year and we're not. But I'm honored to be able to moderate their panel and give them a hard time the entire time. I'm looking forward to that.
Right. And face it, you have a really hard time saying no. So that is why on your speaker bio on the Construct website, which is constructshow.com, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things under your name. And I guess stepping back to that first day is something that has kind of become your baby. And I know, a lot of the stuff we've certainly talked about before, but this one I know is near and dear to your heart, and you are hosting how many annual Young Professionals Day programs? Is the 4th?
I believe this is our 4th year for the Young Professionals Day program at Construct. I started with the first year, so yes, this is my baby because it didn't exist. And I got to really I was empowered and involved with Informa to help plan this event. I really appreciate that they are event planners and conference planners. They don't pretend to be construction professionals. So I was given a lot of leeway in putting together something I thought would work with young professionals to help, kind of bring them into the fold of the conference right away and to meet a lot of more experienced people in the industry and share knowledge with them. So this will be year 4. And I'm excited to get a new group in the room. We have quite a few. We'll see if he's back again this year, but we had one young man who actually attended year 3 of Young Professionals Day last year. He came to the first 3 years, so I'm kind of chuckling to myself and wondering if he's going to come do it again, because it's really meant to be a first-time experience thing. I mean, you can do it as much as you want, but some of our attendees have been so excited about the mentors they've ended up meeting and keeping, even from across the country, because our technology gives us the ability to do that. So, that one's my baby. Wednesday's going to be a busy day because you will also be speaking at Young Professionals Day and talking about networking and kind of expanding your reach in the industry to the young professionals.
And I'll also be taking part into the speed mentoring, which you've held every year. And every year you say the feedback you get from the young professionals is we want more time with the mentors. So there's actually a 2-hour session with the mentors this year. And I was looking through the presenters, the mentors, I should say, earlier today, because I realized they're all up on the Construct website, and a lot of our friends, in the CSI industry, including Ray Gaines and Rick Lube and Leanne Slattery and Sandy Valeka and Beth Stroshane and Cliff Marvin and Mike Rosica. I mean, it's just all of these great CSI friends we've been able to meet over the years, that you are basically able to cast a request out for, I need help. And all these fine folk basically step up and say, of course, we'd love to help out. And I know we didn't really hit on it exactly here, but the idea of Young Professionals Day is for those 35 and under. It's a chance to really enter into the Construct fray, and it's an intensive discounted day rate, I should say, for the whole package, the whole week if you want to go, the 3 days. But you can certainly take part in just that day. But it's basically a morning of bringing you up to speed of CSI, Construct, what we do, the mentors, what you can look forward to in your career. And it's been great to be involved over the last couple of years on and off. And I look forward to taking part in it again, because I've always enjoyed the energy that the young professionals bring into the room. And I think that the mentors such as myself and all of these friends that I just rattled off, you get a lot of energy out of them as well. You can really tell that they really enjoy sitting down and talking to all of these folk, whether it's their first Construct or their second or third. Perhaps it's their first time in the Young Professionals program, but it's been a great opportunity to be involved in that. So we know that the Wednesday is going to be very busy. The good thing is there's still some seats left, from my understanding, for YP Day. Yeah, absolutely. If someone's still interested in attending, perhaps they live in LA area and they want to check it out, there is still a chance to attend.
There is. And I think I'd like to point out that one of the things I think really makes our program a little different is it's very much an expectation from everybody, both the mentors and the young professionals, that we're sitting down, especially for the speed mentoring, with equal seats at the table and equal respect. And so part of the thing that's a little unique about our speed mentoring is the young professionals are not just learning from the mentors are expected to learn something from the young professionals as well. And I'm actually rather selective about who I choose to be the mentors, because that mindset, I think, is what changes the game about this event. And I think it's the reason that not only myself, but many of our mentors are still in touch with a lot of our young professionals that have attended in the past, no matter where they are. I've seen a number of these young professionals go back and become leaders in their chapters and excited about doing different things that they wouldn't have thought of before. But this is very much not a top-down kind of program where all the older people come in and say, this is how you should do things. That's not what this is at all. I've always said, and I will always say, that I have just as much to learn from the people coming up behind me as they do from me. And so that equal respect is really what makes this different. And so we do still have some room in the program. And the rate for all 3 days for the entire young professional program is just ridiculously low for any conference. And the education we're talking about tonight, about the sessions that we're doing, but there's something like 45 educational sessions that cross all disciplines, cross all areas of the industry, from technology to design to sustainability to building envelopes. I would really encourage anybody thinking about attending to check out just how much there is to offer at this conference. I don't know that I've seen too many I can cram pack that much value into 3 days for such a ridiculously low amount to attend compared to a lot of the conferences.
certainly find it on the Construct Show website. You can also reach out through any of our social media channels if you have any questions or interested in attending, and email you as well, I'm sure, at CheriseLakeside@gmail.com, or on Twitter, of course, at Cherise Lakeside. We'll answer the questions and see if you can get involved this year, because it's certainly not too late. So speaking of young professionals, we ended up really writing this last one that you're involved in on the spot, so to speak, sitting on a chaise lounge in Las Vegas, if recollection hits me. So we're trying to find perhaps something to help fill in a spot in the Construct program. And this year was a little bit different at Construct. There was no traditional keynote, and instead there's actually 4, essentially what they used to call game changer sessions. The last one that you're involved in is what's being called a power panel, and it's called Millennials as Successors, Misconceptions and Realities. Hear it from them. And you had the chance to handpick 4 different young professionals, a few of them perhaps former millennials, if you will. They're just right at the cusp of the ages that the millennials fall in brackets, and that's up to about 38 years old nowadays, depending on which demographic you read. So we're looking forward to this one as well. You happen to handpick Mike Rosica, who many people know as Young Architect. And I suggested a good friend of mine and one who's active in the local chapter as well as the institute level like yourself, and that's Cam Featherstonhoff from Truex Cullens Architects here in Burlington, Vermont. A lovely young lady that we had a chance to meet in Atlanta when we presented down there, Kyla Pollard, and then Timothy Kopic from Owens Corning. And they're going to be joining you for this special power panel. And I know you're looking forward to this one because it ties right in with your work with the young professionals. You feel like we really need to show that there is a lot of misconceived notions with our younger generation, and you're really trying to show some of the older generation that there's a lot of knowledgeable and impactful younger generation folk out there that have wonderful things to share. So if you want to talk a few minutes about this new power panel and what you're looking forward to with this one this year.
Well, one of the goals of the speed mentoring NYP Day is to open minds really on both sides of the fence, because there are misconceptions, I think, by millennials of older professionals sometimes. And I definitely think there's misconceptions about millennials by a lot of older professionals. And I've come to the point where I don't even like the word millennials anymore, because it almost has a negative connotation. And there's all these just kind of, they're all lazy and they're entitled and they need a trophy for everything. And those kind of attitudes about our younger professionals that are largely inaccurate, and research and studies will show you that every single generation coming before them had some of the same things said about them at that age. And for instance, my office now and my last office had a huge percentage of younger professionals. I would venture to say a good half of our office is younger professionals, and I can't remember the last time I've had this much fun at work, working hard, and they invigorate me and they excite me and they make me passionate about my work again. And they're not tired and they're not worn out. They're not stuck in only one way of doing things. And they're very passionate about their work, but they do definitely have a different outlook on life, hopefully because we raised them better than we were raised. I happen to have children in that age group as well, and I think we all wanted or want better for our kids than what we had. And so I think they're better at balance in life than I know I ever was, and the baby boomers before me ever were. But the point of this panel is to have a respectful conversation and get to know each other. but get to really get to know the millennials and just how passionate they are about their work and how serious they are about learning, and how much they do want to do well, and they're not lazy. Some of the young professionals I know work harder than anybody I've ever seen before. And it's just to break down the barriers and break down the walls. And this is an industry that will only survive and do well if we communicate. We talk about it all the time among disciplines. Why doesn't the mechanical engineer talk to the electrical engineer? Why didn't the architect communicate this? Well, it's not just about, to be effective, it's not just about communicating between disciplines. To be effective and really successful, we have to communicate among generations too, and we need to keep our minds open and learn from each other. They teach me something every day. And on the flip side of that, they come to me all the time with questions, and I embrace that and I'm open to that. So guess what? They come to me even more, which means they learn even faster because I respect them and they respect me. And that's kind of what this panel is about. It's just truly throwing away the notions and what you hear on the news and truly getting to know what this generation is all about.
And we'd be completely remiss if we did not mention, perhaps to me now, what's year two, the highlight for me of Construct, and that is our newfound allegiance with our friends of Clark Dietrich and our Partners in Pints party, which is going to be on Thursday night this year at Gladstone's. We just truly lucked out into partnering with a great group over at CD, and just had a wonderful time last year in Providence, where we went down to Narragansett's production brewery up the road in Pawtucket, and had a really great time with music and a photo booth, and of course drinks and games and food trucks, and had a really, really great time because truly one of the things that's changed over the last couple of years of Construct is it's been all about the after hours networking. Really, it's the show is 3 to 4 days. This year it's 3. We only see each other so many times a year, really, and CSI's Construct has always been really a family reunion for us CSI members, and we might as well take advantage of seeing each other and hanging out with each other when we can. And the first night, Wednesday, has a welcome reception. Friday night, the last night of Construct, has always been the night out, the CSI night out. This year that will continue, and that's going to be a great time as well. And last year we missed out on the host chapter event because there was not an active Rhode Island chapter, unfortunately, and we planned this Partners in Pints event with Clark Dietrich, and it really went off well, and we're able to have a chance to continue this year for round 2. It's going to be at Gladstone's, which is a historic Pike Pier right around the corner from the convention center. It's a Thursday night from 7 to 11. It's absolutely free to attend. Check out partnersandpints.com to register for your free ticket. Attendance is limited, and there will be some tickets given away at the Clark Dietrich booth in the Construct Expo Hall on site on Thursday and Friday. But to basically enable your admittance, sign up now at partnersandpints.com. We're really, really excited about year 2 and what's going to go on there. They have a hand-picked menu, some games, some party favors, some chance to win some great swag, including a Yeti cooler and a Bose Bluetooth set and a Beer of the Month Club membership. So it's going to be a great time. So make sure you save your Thursday night freedom for that time for our Partners in Pints event at Gladstone's. So it's coming up. It is all in like 2 short weeks' time. We've been a little behind the 8 ball on posting this podcast and talking about this, so our apologies that it's a little late, but we've had a real interesting summer, as we've talked about in the first part of the show. And once again, Construct has really snuck up on us. We always, at one point in time, I remember when it was like, oh, it's 6 months away. Oh, it's 5 months away. Well, it's finally basically 2 weeks away. We're extending it a little bit ourselves personally, coming in a few days early, staying a few days late, because I personally have never been to California more than a San Francisco layover last year for about an hour's time. So I'm going to be in California for the very first time and might as well take advantage of it. I'll be there for 7 days. I hear the weather is real nice in Southern California. Fingers crossed, I won't be disappointed. I hear it's really close to a beach. We found out there's a really great brewery within a few minutes walk of one of the host hotels. So we're already planning for some shenanigans, let's say, out of construct time, but we're really, really looking forward to it. There's still time to attend as well. So constructshow.com is the website. And I believe if this doesn't go haywire, you can actually save 20% on registration or get a free expo hall pass by using the promotional code. I have SMFB06, and if that doesn't work, SMFB06, reach out to us through social. We can get you a promotional code to at least save a little bit of money on your registration or get your free expo hall pass. Still time to attend YP Day, Young Professionals Day. If you're 35 and under, have a chance to sit down with Cherise, myself, a whole bunch of mentors on that first morning, Wednesday, October 3rd in Long Beach. We're really, really looking forward to this year because, as we just talked about, we're very, very busy. Lots of different things going on. You can check out all of the other educational opportunities. There's tours. There's more networking opportunities available as well, all throughout the time. And it's coming up soon. So we hope you have a chance to attend in Long Beach. As we approach the hour mark here, Cherise, any last-minute thoughts on what we've been doing the last couple of months here and business-wise, or what's coming up in 2 weeks at Construct?
I love your curveballs. Well, I honestly, this is we have a couple more presentations coming up after Construct in Indianapolis and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But that'll probably, with the holidays coming, kind of close it up for this year. It's been a pretty wild ride this year. We've been all over the country and even out of the country, in Canada, and it's exciting, and we're hoping to, I think, look at some new ideas and where we can take it the next year. I would love to see you at Construct, and I urge you to go to the website and check out the educational offerings, because I think that there's a lot more than most people realize that the show has to offer, and the conference has to offer. But if somebody were to ask me, and I always answer this question the same way, but if somebody were to ask me why I go every year, I go every year because of the people. To be perfectly honest, I have professionals, mentors, friends in my life that I never would have found any other way. I can't wait to see them every year. I stay in touch with them throughout the year. And it is one of the single best things I have done in the last 7 years since I joined CSI, because that's where I first heard about it. Had I heard about it before that, hopefully I would have been smart enough to go before that. But that's not the case. The just connections you can't get any other way. You learn just as much outside of the educational sessions with the people that you meet as you do inside of them. So we both hope to see you there. I guarantee you we will be there somewhere with a coconut drink in hand, enjoying Long Beach and seeing what we can learn.
It's coming up soon. So once again, check out constructshow.com. You can also find a link to our presentations as well as our upcoming sessions in Cincinnati and Indianapolis at lfcworkshops.com, as I'm wrapping up a podcast and another late night here on the East Coast. So thank you very much for tuning in to episode number 8 of the Let's Fix Construction podcast. On behalf of my good friend Cherise Lakeside, my name is Eric Lussier. And we're going to leave you with our outro of our good friend Mel Allen and the sultry sounds of Milton Busker. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to the Let's Fix Construction podcast. To hear other episodes, read our blogs from dozens of collaborators, and see where we'll be hosting our next live workshop, please visit letsfixconstruction.com. We're always looking for AEC professionals to contribute their industry solutions. To offer your support as a blogger or podcast guest, contact letsfixconstruction@gmail.com.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's fix you and me every broken thing that we can see, all the pain and all the misery. Let's start tomorrow. Let's build, you and me, a towering impossibility, a thing of art, a thing of beauty we can show. If it don't matter if it's new or old, and we don't have to wait until we're told. Let's fix it now before the iron's cold. We'll fix it once, we'll fix it thrice, as many times till it stays nice. A wondrous world this would be. Let's fix it, you and me. If all you see is what cannot be done, you'll surely miss out on the joyous fun. So come with me and we'll reject no one. I trust you know this ain't no joke. Let's pull together all the folk and we'll work on life's mystery. Let's fix it, you and me.